Welcome to the CLV Revolution podcast. Today we are going to speak with Daphne Tideman. She was the first employee at Rockboost. Now Daphne is helping eco-friendly and wellness direct-to-consumer startups grow faster. So today we're speaking about chapter 5, begin with the end in mind. So Daphne, what do you think about chapter 5?
So I was really excited to see it because it's actually the first thing that we connected about almost exactly a year ago to date, was this idea of that too many companies, they get very caught up on their product, they get very caught up on features, and they fill all their communication with that or just very fluffy, vague language, but they forget what is their customer actually trying to achieve, what is their end goal, and what is their job to be done. And so we really connected about that because I was presenting about it at a conference we were both speaking at.
Yeah.
And so to see it coming back was absolutely great. And I love that you also took it a step further, really combining it with the quantitative data in working out not just what are your customers' jobs to be done, but really specifically which ones are the most impactful. So it'd be really interesting also to hear how you've actually even seen that impact some of the customers you've worked with, putting that to practice.
Yeah, what's important is in my approach, if you do it for everyone, so basically when you are selecting the customers that you are going to analyze to extract the jobs to be done and to get to become aware about, hey, our products have 3 jobs or 4 jobs or 5 jobs. But my approach, as is in the book as well, is, hey, first look at your best customers, select from them the ones that you are going to be interviewing, because if you are to attract more customers like your best ones, you better understand their jobs to be done because they are already in the habit loop, right? So they buy over and over again your products. And so that's why you might want to become aware about their jobs to be done.
Yeah. And I think it's a really good point because when I started doing user interviews years ago, I used to just be like, okay, I'm really happy if I can get anyone on the call. I was like kind of desperate here. We'll get someone on the call. And then we'd have all these interviews and it'd be so helpful, but we'd feel like we'd be pulling in very different directions. Mm-hmm. And the way I've been approaching it, which is slightly different, but I feel like pulls on a lot of the similar themes, is now what I do is I analyze all the reviews, I analyze the competitors, I analyze also, I do a product market fit survey and really work out like what are the jobs to be done being mentioned in there by the very disappointed. And then I've asked people in that survey already, would you be open to doing an interview afterwards for this reward? Which is great because I just get them on the like confirmation of like, you've said yes, so you really should do what you've said yes to when I hit them with that email. And so I've started taking this approach where I get the very disappointed, look at what I think are the highest potential jobs to be done and really dive deeper into just those. And that's already really helped get way more succinct interviews. But one of the things we also talked about was like the only problem still with that is like, great that they love your product, great that they're an advocate, great that they have stayed longer, but are they actually spending a lot? Are they also valuable to the company? So I liked what you were talking about, like, well, let's also look at like, what is their value and then select on that as well. So you're really narrowing it down.
One important aspect besides that is the fact that I'm a strong believer into the jobs to be done methodology. And I think the customer research is still a Cinderella in the market. Yeah. So as I've stated in the book, it's not about acquiring customers that never come back. It's not about becoming obsessed and hypnotized. Hey, let's spend money to get people buying our product once. And I think beginning with the end in mind means stopping to just pour money into ads, and then doing this type of research and reinforcing the message. And I think few companies are doing this. I don't know what's your take on that, but I do know for a fact that you are an advocate of the whole customer journey. So instead of just the top of the funnel activities, let's focus on understanding which are your best customers, understanding their jobs to be done, and then reinforcing these messages across the customer journey.
Oh, I definitely think like it is a major issue. And one of the reasons I think that it's been even made worse especially in like investor-backed startups, is this obsession about monthly growth rate. Because the reason why I think people don't do this is it's time consuming and you don't always see the results immediately. Sure, you'll get loads of great insights out of it. Sure, there's things you can implement quite quickly, but you still need to take the time to really interview and slow down. And when you're not growing as fast as you want, that feels really scary. But when you do that and you do it properly and you really change all that language around it, as you said, like you're getting better customers. I had one client where we'd been doing this for the last few months, taking all these learnings, implementing it from the ad to the welcome flow, to the post-purchase flow. Every single part of the journey, we were getting more consistent in those customers that have been with us since the beginning, really spent a lot, love it, tell other people about it. And we've just seen the retention rate just creeping up. Well, not even creeping, it's going really fast. Going up and up and up every single month. That, this last month, again, it was 60% more revenue from returning customers. And if you looked at the overall growth rate, we hadn't actually grown that much that month because we'd had to really slow down with stock issues. Yep. But we were getting a way, way healthier customer base because we were getting so many people back, because we were attracting those people for the right reasons that we knew would get value out of it. So I think it's time consuming. I think it's not knowing how to do it. And I think it's the fact that it takes longer to see those results that stops people doing it. But that end of the day, it's going to get you to not even necessarily just like a higher growth rate, but a more healthier organization, because luckily the industry is shifting to profitability. And this is such like, not just that chapter, but the whole book in like, how do you build a more profitable, sustainable business, is getting higher value customers, because acquisition costs are going to keep going up. We know that.
Yeah, it's like in real estate, unfortunately. So I keep on waiting for the prices to go down, but no luck here. One aspect that I wanted to address with you, because in the book I haven't put everything over there, is how to do the interviews and how to extract, because the jobs to be done methodology is heavily reliant on the quality of the interview. So I wanted to ask you, how do you suggest to do the interview? What kind of questions to ask? And you've addressed this a bit earlier. Is it okay to let's say incentivize or promise something to the interviewees, to the people responding?
So I do usually offer an incentive. I think it's also just respectful from time. Obviously, you can sometimes get people who just want the incentive, and I can usually pick those out quite quickly, and I kind of discount their results a bit. What I usually do is I offer a product-related incentive if possible, and a incentive that, based on what we know about the audience, they should like. And this is for me another indicator of like, do they actually have product market fit? Do they actually like the product? Because do they want more of the product, or do they don't? And the other reason I also do that is because I want to talk not just to those customers who absolutely love it and are staying, but I want to compare them to people who aren't and see how there's differences. Like, what is the job to be done of someone who's somewhat, and what's the job to be done of someone who's very disappointed, based on like the typical product market fit question, because I want to see what's the difference. And in your case, that would be based on, what is their customer lifetime value? How does that differ at different scopes? And so I do incentivize, and I do then also, in terms of the questions, I'm never asking them, why do you like it? What I'm usually trying to get out of them as a starting point is like, what led them to this moment in their life where they decided to try our product? And I'm trying to understand, what is that potential underlying reason of it? And so I first dive deep into that until I feel like, hey, we've gotten really, to the point where I understand what's happening. So the example you used in the book was like, okay, a weighted blanket. So there's different cases of that, but one of them is like, okay, I'm struggling with anxiety. And then I like to ask them about like, okay, I first go back in time, like, okay, what were you using to help with your anxiety before? So I'm not asking, did you use a different weighted blanket before? I'm asking, what else were you trying to use to help with your anxiety? And then I'm figuring out all the indirect competitors and what they liked and disliked about them, and what led them to the point that they were unsatisfied with all those competitors that they kept switching. And when did they then try us out? And what was then their first thoughts? What were things that nearly held them back? How was that journey going on? And then I'm asking them like, what's the benefit? Like, what's the top benefit? What's the thing that you've missed the most? What would you then use instead? And really trying to understand that side of it to really understand like, okay, well, from different angles, how are they explaining what it's doing for them compared to everything else they've tried, so that I can really map out what our customers value against what our competitors offer, against what we offer to uncover those differentiators. And again, when I'm saying competitors, I'm not talking about other weighted blankets. I'm talking about any other solution they could use.
Yeah, which is a very crucial part of the jobs to be done methodology, because you need to go to the moment where they've started to passively looking for a solution, for a way to make progress. Because if you go right there and you ask them about a direct competitor, you might not understand what kind of progress they are trying to make. And that's another important thing, because few are the companies which are differentiating themselves properly. So they talk to everyone about everything, and they end up not being not carving out their space in the minds of their customers. And it's important to understand that if you have an ICP, an ideal customer profile, if you have your soulmates, your best customers out there, you need to understand what makes them say, today is the day that I'm going to buy again from this company instead of other ones. And as I've stated in the book as well, there are these schools of thought regarding, hey, it's all about new customers. And there is this school of thought, it's about, yes, new customers, but better customers. Because if the acquisition costs are so high, then you will not end up being profitable if you acquire poor customers or not the right customers for your for your product.
And it's scary because you can actually see in the short run a drop in acquisition. So I had one client I worked with who were offering 50% off on the first purchase. So what was happening, they were getting a lot of discount seekers. A lot of people were trying different products. And the minute they reduced or removed that, their acquisition costs went up. The number of new customers they were getting dropped. But it was because they'd been reliant on this kind of crux of like, hey, the discount is what we offer. And they hadn't got right yet in the language what was actually the alternative of it. What was actually the reason that people should actually be using, because the product is a supplement, and people don't take a supplement because they got a discount on the supplement. You know, it's not where you're like, oh, we've got like, let me take a pill because I've got a discount. Like, that's not the reason, but like, that's all their, what a lot of their communication was. So getting to that place where it was better, yes, in the short run, it meant, hey, we might have to scale down a little bit the acquisition, get it really right. But the retention of those customers, how long they were staying, how much they were worth to them, was increasing a lot because they were getting people staying long term. And I always say, like, you know, if you want to think of it a different way, like, it's going to cost you a lot more time, effort, budget to maintain a base of 5,000 customers who buy once a year than, you know, 500 customers who buy 10 times a year. Because all those different customers are going to have, you know, different questions, different things that you need to help them with along the way. And that's going to cost you on customer care. That's going to cost you in terms of like how much effort it is to different targeting and everything. So yeah, I definitely think there's so much value in this. We both have the same frustration that it really takes time to convince that. But that's why, like, I always even said it with like knowing your job's to be done and focusing on that end in mind rather than the product is not going to just help you with retaining them, but it's also going to help you get more of those customers. And I always show it as kind of this graph of like, when you niche down, it feels scary, like you're going to get less. But once you get it right and you work out that niche that has that high value, you're going to see better click-through rates. You're going to see lower cost per clicks. You're going to see better conversion rates. You're going to see better cost per acquisition. Plus, you're also then increasing the lifetime value. So like your cost of acquisition to LTV ratio is improving hugely.
Yeah.
And you're keeping so much more at the end of the day. And like, that is hugely impactful. Like I see AOV also going up. Like everything goes then in the right direction. But it's accepting the fact that one, it's not a quick fix. And two, that it might not always be immediately that case. And it might feel like you're going to be focusing on less people, but getting the right people in for the right reason and showing them really that value. Like there's a lot of hidden benefits too. Like one of the clients I'm working on now, like we found this like kind of super using groups around new mums and pregnant women because they couldn't keep anything else down. It's a superfood, high protein meal shake. It's so easy for them. They know it's all natural, so they feel comfortable. It's pregnancy safe. It's been informed sport tested, even though they're not using it for sports. It's another sign that they feel comfortable taking it. But they're just raving to everyone. And like, unless you have a really strict referral, you're going to miss all of that. But that's, again, like the hidden value of doing this the right way.
Yeah.
If you need another reason. There should be enough reasons, but there's another one.
One other aspect in this methodology that I've outlined here in the book is that once you have the jobs to be done, it's time to validate them from a quantitative perspective.
Yeah.
And because in e-commerce, you have thousands or hundreds of thousands of customers. So if the purpose of the customer research and the jobs to be done method is to improve or to optimize the marketing spend, then you might want to know what is the lifetime value for customers with job 1, 2, or 3.
Yeah.
And also to understand if those are the best customers of yours, you need an email marketing research. So basically you send the surveys to your database, you survey them to understand which of the jobs are the best, and then you can put a budget, right? So you can allocate budget for job 1 because the customers with job 1 have a lifetime value which is 3 times higher than the average. Then we can invest differently.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's also like an interesting methodology of it, of like, really looking at like, okay, well, it's not that we don't want to acquire that other job, but it's just not worth as much. So we shouldn't just be working with one like cost of acquisition across all of it, or just look at like, what the ROAS is of a campaign and looking short term, but like how much can we spend on them long term? And I'm curious, like, well, because I've done this in different ways, but I think it'll be really interesting also for people to know, it's like, how do you then, like, in your database, make sure that you're segmenting those people on that? Like, how are you identifying it? Like, if we take the weighted blanket example, and imagine you've got 2 main jobs to be done. One of them is, and these are quite vague, broad ones, but let's just go with that for now. One of them is around reducing anxiety, and the other one is around helping with insomnia. How do you usually go about identifying who wants what in the emails so that you can really tailor the content? Just curious what approaches you've been taking.
So basically, once you have that those jobs to be done, let's say there are 2, but there are for weighted blankets, there are 4 different reasons: insomnia, anxiety, a gift, and being I don't know, living a better life. Like for the ones which are also downloading meditation apps, they eat natural and they want a weighted blanket as well. So in the post-purchase survey, you give them these options. What was the main thing that convinced you to buy a weighted blanket, or for what you are buying a weighted blanket, for job 1, 2, 3, or 4? And then you tag them differently in your email marketing system, and you do remarketing based on the progress that they are trying to make. Because if it's about insomnia, it's not the same thing as I'm buying this as a gift for my family or stuff like that.
Yeah. It's funny because like you do it post-purchase and I've done it a lot pre-purchase. So one of the examples I've told you about before is like I work with a natural science-based CBD company, and we focus on getting as many people as possible on the website to do the quiz, because the quiz is going to tell us which job to be done are they struggling with. That data gets sent to the email side of it. And even if they bought already, we also then send the same quiz to the people who haven't bought to make sure that we can understand it and learn from them, and also in terms of content type they're engaging with, and using that to like segment the like the welcome flows based on what job to be done they're struggling with, and also then the post-purchase. But I like that, like, because you do see really good response rates post-purchase. I've mainly been using that as more an attribution moment. Let me figure out where they heard about us, and using different then attribution sources to work out like, okay, what's happening. But I like the fact that you then take that moment when they're in that high to get that extra information so that you really understand what are they struggling with and sending that back. Because then you probably end up with it for a bigger database of post-purchase customers.
Yeah. So mainly it's pre-purchase and post-purchase as well. So I think the best data is the first-party data. So the kind of data that customers are consciously sharing with you.
Yeah.
So that you can make them a better product or a better proposal or a better onboarding and so on.
It's less creepy too.
Exactly, and less creepy because yes, I've shared with you that I have a cat which is sterilized, by the way, and her name is Kitty. And based on that, I'm not so surprised when you are asking me on an email, "How's Kitty doing? Here is some great food for her."
Yeah. No, exactly. Versus you've noticed that I've looked at this one specific product and then you're assuming something about me. And I'm like, ooh, how do they know that? Well, I know how they know that, but the average person's probably like, this is getting a bit too much, guys.
Exactly.
But no, I think it's good to really also, again, align that like pre and post, because you can just get so much more out of it as a result and really see like, okay, well, based on that, how can we really segment it? And something else that, not, if I'm not mistaken, you didn't talk as much about, but I think a lot of like earlier stage are like, but do we have enough people to be able to do this? Do you have like guidelines about what stage you recommend people to start segmenting this out, investing in this? Or do you say it doesn't matter your side, start now? Because I've always seen it ends up being worth the extra effort of the extra emails, the extra content and all of that.
Yeah, if you have a large enough database, it pays off. So RFM doesn't work unless you have at least 30,000 customers. And basically the CVO methodology works for larger companies, by the way. If you are a startup or if you've just started up, if you are a smaller company, then you should be doing the jobs to be done. It works amazingly for you as well, but you can't validate, you can't activate the email marketing because basically the return is not going to be as high unless you are selling, I don't know, very, very expensive items that justify this type of endeavors.
Yeah. I would say though, for those early stage startups, because I feel like I work with a lot of startups, it sucks when people are like, yeah, you don't really have the data to do this properly. What I do say is like, you need copy on your homepage. You need copy on your product page. You need copy on your post-purchase phase. You need copy on your ads. You're going to still need copy, visuals everywhere you go. And instead of maybe segmenting it all out, already following this methodology in the book, and then applying that just as like, what's the top one? So if you're weighted blanket and you see like, okay, the highest like spending customers are, struggling with anxiety. Let's really make sure we narrow down on that. We show that we're really the best weighted blanket for anxiety and that we're differentiated from other solutions in XYZ. Already implying that will still have a massive impact and get you to that scale where then you can do all the fun quantitative side too.
Yeah. So Daphne, thanks a lot for joining me in this episode. I wanted to ask you, what are you excited next in your endeavor and where can people find out more about you?
So if people want to find out more about me, I would definitely say follow me on LinkedIn. And I also have a newsletter for D2C startups called Growth Waves. So if you just search that, you should be able to find it. And I share weekly, very actionable from full funnel. Don't worry, I don't just talk about acquisition. Advice for founders, head of growths on how to basically grow faster. In terms of what am I most excited about next? Right now, a lot of what I'm doing is around helping more women in experimentation and growth, and also doing also like a female founder course. So I'm excited to do a bit more on that side because I've seen it be quite an underrepresented part. Like I'm speaking this week at the How to Web, and I love the fact that they have a very diverse speaker base, but there are a lot of conferences, a lot of cases where I have been one of the only women. So I'm very excited to be working on that and helping on that side. It's very different to what we've been talking about, but it's definitely something that I'm excited to work more on in the coming months.
Super. Then Daphne, thanks a lot for being part of the CLV Revolution podcast. And that's it from our end. And as for you, let's see each other talking about chapter 6, which is about who buys what and why.